back, Baye McNeil in Tokyo. Thanks so much for joining again, Baye.
You're welcome, JJ. Thanks for having me.
So it's pretty crazy. I was reviewing our first talk last year. It was June of last year.
It was.
So almost a year. And it really seems like a lot has happened in the world since then, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, the world has changed completely. It's a whole nother planet now, for real.
Yeah. So, first, to introduce you to the audience, you gave a really great intro last time. Let's see if I can read this on screen. So, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, a journalist, author, and lecturer. Upon arriving in Japan in 2004, McNeil began teaching and later began his blog, Local in Yokohama, which covered life in Japan from a Black New Yorker's perspective. In 2014, Baye was hired as a columnist for the Japan Times. His column, Black Eye, raises awareness of Black people and activities in the profile and perception of Blackness in Japan. It's nice to do a proper profile intro. Anything to add? Anything missing?
Um, New homeowner?
Yeah. Let's talk about that first, because that's a really recent, exciting. We mentioned that you had just bought the land last year.
That's right. I just bought the land and we moved in January 8th. So we've been living here. Wow, you got pictures. That's cool. Yeah, we moved in January 8th and so that makes it 4 months and 3 days. And Mickey, that's my wife there. Wow, you got pictures of my wife. And she's a DIY queen and she's been doing so many amazing things in this house. I'm just along for the ride and paying the bills.
Amazing, because
but
remodeling old homes is something we talk about a lot in this series. It's a very popular topic. But you actually built a new home, but she's still doing DIY projects like the fence there. She's very impressive.
she is very impressive. I really lucked up. Hey, Clinton, how you doing, man? So yeah, I really lucked up. She's doing amazing stuff right now. She's yeah, what you see in the pictures there, she's going to be building our fencing. Yeah, she's doing the fencing, and I can't wait to see what it looks like. I can't imagine.
That's awesome. It's great to have at least one person in the family who can do DIY stuff. It's always handy.
Yeah, it's
Now,
like I'm married to the super.
hey, if something breaks, you know who you're going to ask to fix it. It's
Who are you gonna
awesome.
call?
Let's
Mixer.
And last time we were introducing your book. Hello. Hi, my name is Loco and I'm a racist. And you have some exciting news. You've been in the studio.
I have been in the studio. Yes, we. I'm in the process of producing an audiobook version of How My Name is Loco and I'm a Racist. So very excited about that. It's coming together very nicely, and I've also been recording some extras for the audiobook with people who were in the book, characters from the book, characters. These are real people, but I'm calling them characters. But there are people who were in the book who've agreed to come in and kind of talk about some of the things that were discussed in the book, in relation to their, the chapters that they appeared in. So I'm very excited about that. I've already done 3 of these records. I have 2 more lined up, so it's coming together nicely. Also, the
Okay.
Japanese version of How My Name is
Yes.
Loco and I'm a Racist is coming out this fall, and that's being translated as we speak by a Japanese translator, and I'm very excited about that as well. So, yeah, those are the two big major projects in addition to the home for this year. So
That's
that's been keeping
awesome.
me busy.
Yeah, congratulations. That's
Thank you very
great
much. Thank you very
progress
much.
on an already successful, very popular book, but this is the next level, leveling up. And I
Yes.
love how in this picture where you're smiling right next to me and you're saying it was funnier than you remembered, that you guys were cracking up, and so it took you longer to record it.
Yeah, it's a different experience. It's a different experience when you're writing the work, when you're reading the work, and when you're reading the work aloud. This is something I most of these chapters. I mean, of course, when I do readings, I've read aloud certain chapters. I usually read the same chapter over and over because I got it, worked out to a certain rhythm and stuff. But some of this stuff I've never read aloud. So yeah, it was really it was like rediscovering my own work. So
Can you
it's
give
pretty
us a
cool.
hint about which part was cracking you up?
Um, well, it was the chapter with the Kiwi, the Aussie, and colored guy, and that's chapter 2. So yeah, just reading that just cracked me up.
It,
Really.
it reminded me of my early 20s when I first came to Japan, that part, and how you guys were all sharing the same flat and all the nonsense you were up to, right?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of nonsense up in there.
So, is it completely autobiographical or is it fiction?
Where? Which book?
The first book that you're doing the audio is.
Actually, I haven't written any fiction books yet. It's all nonfiction. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty wild. And it's for people who don't know this book yet, this covers your time a bit in America before coming to Japan, as well as like your first years in Japan,
Yes.
and some of the racial inequality issues that you then have written about in Japan Times and other articles and columns and appearances, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I wrote, there was chapters on some of my experiences in the university. What is this? Is this spam?
I think that's spam. I'm gonna mute. All
Okay.
right. So hopefully they'll go away. I don't know what that is. Yeah. So sorry. Go ahead.
There's chapters on some of my experiences growing up in the school I went to when I was a child, my elementary school. It was a private school. There's chapters on my experiences with the 5%. There's a chapter on my experiences in the military and also dating my first interracial relationship. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff dealing with the U.S. as well. So I would say maybe 50% of the book is in the U.S. and 50% takes place here in Japan.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of your recent articles that have come out. You had a article only in Japanese, I believe, with Toyo Keizai. Is that right?
Several. I'm a regular contributor there for the last couple of years. So yeah, I got a lot of articles in Japanese there. If
I
anyone reads Japanese, please look for Bae McNeil on Toyo Keizai. I got about a good 15, 20 articles there, so check them out
yeah,
on a number of or a range of topics.
I read the one about labels
Right.
and be careful when and maybe think more carefully when using labels. Can you like give us a summary of that?
Essentially, what I was saying. What is this? I'm trying to ignore
Yeah,
it, but it keeps popping up in my
I
face.
know. I'm trying to mute it. Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, what it was about was um, there's a tendency in Japan to, and not just Japan, in many different countries, but there's a tendency to place labels on things in order to simplify things that shouldn't be simplified, like people. Um, for example, there's people from various African countries, people from all over the world of African descent, but to label them all, to place them all under this label of Kokujin in itself is problematic. But then there's certain characteristics that are attached to that label that people will attach to anyone that they attach that label to. That makes it, that exacerbates the problematic aspects of labeling. So that's what the article was about, how that can be problematic. Not that it necessarily is going to stop overnight, but it should be something that people think about before they do. Think about how, the kind of ramifications that could have on the society and how that can lead to um, stereotyping and discrimination, segregation, that kind of thing. That's what
Yeah.
it was about, though.
Yeah.
Just to something to encourage people to think about what they're doing before they do. Because I don't think there's much thought that goes into it. I think that um, here we're talking about Japan. So I think um, there's it's being done without any malintent. It's just like, oh, this is you're black. It's just that simple, but it's not that simple. And the fact that you think it's that simple is problematic.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
There was a part in the article where you're recounting kind of when you blew up, working at a school, and you were being referred to as the black guy or the foreigner, and you said, "Hey, that's not okay," and they said, "What should we call you?" And you said, "How about my name?"
Yeah, let's try that on for size, and then we can work from there. Yeah, I mean, because I think there's and it's not just Japan, of course. I always try to put that disclaimer in because people feel like I'm unfairly targeting Japan, but there is a tendency to not even be able to think outside of the label. You know, and when they're interacting with non-Japanese, they're always trying to find a label. What label do I attach to this person? Hafu or Gaijin or Kokujin, or they're trying to find which label is suitable for this person. Well, he has brown skin, so let's use Kokujin. Oh, he has white skin, so let's use Gaijin. Oh, he looks kind of Japanese, let's call him Hafu. So they're trying to find a label that fits you, and then they can attach all the information they have about that label to you, and then they can work with you with this shorthand, this kind of social shorthand that they're working with, and it's so problematic. And I just think it needed to be addressed. Not that I think it's necessarily racist, but it could lead to some really racist behavior if not checked.
Yeah. No, really important to think about. And the last time we were talking about your interaction with NHK and how you didn't see any blackface happening after 2018. So you felt like there was some progress. And I saw in Japan Times, you also had an article talking about Martin Luther King, and you felt that there was a sense of progress, maybe because of the Black Lives Movement, and there was some momentum there. Are you still feeling that way? How are you feeling now?
Um, there has been some progress. Yeah, definitely some progress. I mean, in particular, after the situation that occurred with NHK, with the that very problematic artwork, that anime segment that to explain BLM that didn't have any mention of the fact that this police officer had killed this black man. So that after that, I think that at least woke up NHK, which is kind of they're really kind of a leader in media here. I think maybe other stations will follow that lead, hopefully. Um, and what they've done since then is had various programs dealing with, like, for example, they had one of the founders of Black Lives Matters on there on a program on NHK, as well as a program that was dedicated to some of the um, bullying and other problems that biracial Japanese experience here, and this kind of thing. So they've taken to addressing social issues, and that's progress. That's progress, and I don't know if that how much it's going to continue, but if I have any say in it, it's going it's going to keep going indefinitely. I mean, when I went and did a presentation there to tell them how they could improve, one of the things I mentioned was that they need to have something ongoing. They can't do a one off and think that's going to appease us. I think that if you don't keep it going, it's going to, the same problems are going to resurface because that's been the trend so far. I mean, for example, if you look back in the 80s, you had people protesting against some of the racialized behavior in the media here, even back then. I mean, for example, um, there was certain. I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. What's that soft drink, the white soft drink?
Calpis?
Calpisa, right. Their original branding was this blackface character. This is back in the 80s. And there was a major protest here to get that removed. So ever since then, they've known that blackface has been problematic to the point where they rebranded Calpisa. Now, here we are dealing with blackface again, 20, 30 years later, 40 years later. So if you don't keep it going, people are going to forget and then it's going to resurface and we'll be doing the same nonsense, addressing the same nonsense again 10, 15 years from now, if I'm still around, or the next generation of people come into Japan saying, hey, what's this blackface business? I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about that 20 years ago, so, what I'm saying? So they need to, keep it going so that, the next generation of producers don't have to, reinvent the wheel. They can just, learn from what the previous generation is learning now.
Yeah. In the last talk, it was just the Black Lives Matter movement, and demonstrations were just starting to happen in Japan. And you actually said in our last talk that you felt quite giddy and excited about how things were changing and progress moving forward. Since then, Naomi Osaka has had a lot of influence. And I know you've written about Naomi Osaka in an op-ed on Washington Post, and as well as about Naomi in Japan Times. She has such a public stage. And so can you talk about her a little bit and how you think she might have helped move things forward? Because I was really admiring her courage in what she was doing.
She is she's remarkable. She's incredible. I mean, I think what she's done is very is admirable, and inspirational too, because I think many of the younger people are watching what she's doing, how courageous she is to take on these corporations and, the naysayers and negative people who are telling her, oh, you're an athlete, shut up and play tennis. We don't want to hear your ideas about how the world should be. Just play tennis and win and make us look good. And she's like, no, that's not enough. I'll do my part, but Japan has to do its part. So she's taking a leadership role in these types of things. And I can't say enough about it. She's great. She's really great. And I think she's inspiring people because, people are like, well, wow, why? Well, first of all, and this goes back to people like Ariana Miyamoto, who was Miss Universe Japan back in 2015. And when she emerged on the scene, there was talk about, how can a Black woman represent Japan, on the world stage? Because that's where she's going. After she won Miss Universe Japan, she was going to enter the global competition. So she would be basically a Black woman representing Japan. But Naomi's the next level of that. She's representing Japan not only in the world of tennis, but now soon in the Olympic world. So it's going to Japan has to acknowledge and embrace the fact that as much as they want to hold on to this idea of this country being homogenous and isolated from the world, and this type of thing where there's all these built-in excuses for their lagging behind in certain areas. That's all null and void now. You got a Black woman representing your country who's telling you, who's leading you in the right direction. So just follow her. See where it goes. If you don't like where she takes you, then you can, go back if you want to. But for the time being, follow her lead because she's going in the right direction. She's leading you in the direction of recognizing the diversity that's already here. She's leading you in a direction that's going to make the rest of the world really embrace Japan as this, not this sleeping kind of backward, just ignorant prone country of faux pas prone country, racist faux pas prone country, to a country that's cognizant, that recognizes that it has a lot to learn and is ready to learn, ready to take on the challenges that is going to be facing in the years to come. And Naomi is right there in the lead on that. I love her.
Uh,
Yeah, I think
she's
that
she's awesome and she's
she's
courageous.
awesome. Yeah,
She represents Japan, she represents America, she represents Black people, Japanese people. It's, lots of respect. Awesome. Yeah, we are having spam problems. If anybody from HAPS would like to step in and block these people, I'm trying. Please block them permanently. Thank you very much. All right. You also had another example, another athlete that you were talking about that you didn't realize that he was also getting racist comments. And I wonder how you can use your position and your connection to media in Japan to help people like him.
he doesn't need any help. He does not need any help. That man is, come on. No, he doesn't need any help.
He's a superstar.
Japan needs help, not him.
Yeah. But it reminded me of, you also were commenting on Japan, and the IOC has said no protesting at the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine, I don't know all the Olympic rules and whatnot, but I expect that they say that every time. This can't be nothing new. But people are going to protest, so they're just saying it. They're just saying it to be saying it. I don't think this is a new rule, is it? I would imagine they've been afraid for the politicization of the Olympics is always going to be problematic.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine this is a new rule, but I think that people are going to continue, just like the Oscars. Nobody wants somebody to get an Oscar and start talking about their politics, but people do it, and people are going to do it in the Olympics too, because it's something that's occurring on the world stage, and it's a great opportunity to address something that needs to be addressed. So I won't be surprised if it happens. I'm going to be. I would like to see how they're going to address it, how they're going to deal with it. Are they really going to be, if Naomi Osaka wears a mask, something like that, with some names of some slain children on it, are they going to kick her out of the Olympics? I'd be curious to see how they're going to address it. So, but I'm not surprised that they made that statement. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel, for commenting. He says, looks like it's coming from YouTube. Yeah, I've just checked my YouTube. I can't seem to block it there either. Hopefully someone from HAPS will hear and come in and help us. I'm guessing you both are simulcasting to YouTube. Yes, multicasting is what I usually do. But yeah, this is just another example of jerks. Jerks on YouTube.
But this is what Hachimura was talking about. That he gets these types of comments every day. So this is just illustrating what he's talking about. I'm sure he, every time he turns on Twitter, there's some clown like this on Twitter saying some nonsense about him. So yeah, you can't get away from it. I just tweeted a little while ago that I don't know if there's an increase in these types of.
I saw that.
People I don't know, but it just seems like there's more. Is it more? Or they just, I don't know.
I think it might be more because people are more online now, or people are
maybe
still on holidays or school holidays. Who knows?
Oh, that's what it is? Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of other articles, so we talked about the Toyo Keizai one about labels, which I thought was really good. Can we talk about the Stop Asian Hate article that you did? I thought that was great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, there was there was an incident that happened in the States, in New York, a matter of fact, where there was a video. A video was captured of a black guy just walking up to an Asian woman and just kind of beating her down, pummeling her to the ground, and the people just watching, not really assisting her. So it's kind of a black eye on New Yorkers, there's a black eye on black people. And I was concerned that as this, of course, we hope that this stuff, ceases, comes to a cease, but in all likelihood, it's likely, with so many people like this guy spamming on in the world, there's a likeliness that it won't come to a cease, and that there will be additional attacks moving forward. And I'm concerned that at some point, because right now I don't think Japan is especially concerned about it, because it's not happening in Japan, and it's not. Of course, it has happened to Japanese Americans. There was one gentleman who was killed, right? But I don't think that Japanese people are feeling it directly. But I think at some point there might, let's say a tourist or someone visiting, a Japanese national is harmed, then it's going to become this thing, and because of, what we were saying before with this kokujin business, if it's a kokujin involved, then that's gonna tarnish all of us, because of the understanding of what kokujin means, meaning that everybody who shares that labeling is likely to do something similarly. And I wanted to make it clear that that's not the case, and that you need to think about that. This is the person who committed this atrocity. This was the same. This person is clearly not dealing with a full deck. He killed his own mother. He spent years in the penitentiary system, which doesn't really unleash sane people out in the world after that amount of time in that system. So anyway, it's
I think,
that's what that story was about. It was just kind of saying, please
yeah,
just think about what you're doing before it comes to that, because I'm concerned about that. I remember when there was that rape that occurred in Okinawa. A soldier had raped a Japanese woman there, and that kind of rubbed off on all of us here. We all kind of got painted with that same brush. I remember there was a killing of a taxi driver by a black guy here in Yokohama. A taxi driver was killed, and that also got pinned on blackness, in a way, but that's how the media tends to do it, and not just here. That happens in the States as well. Whenever a minority commits a crime, the entire freaking group is pegged. So anyway, that's why I put that article out there, just to make people just think about it in advance of that type of that occurrence. Hopefully, it doesn't happen, but better to be prepared.
yeah. Your comments actually in that article, it reminded me of watching Spike Lee's film "Do the Right Thing," in which I think is based in Brooklyn as well, right? And
Yeah.
it's about the black communities, and all the shopkeepers were Asian, and a lot of people in the community felt like they weren't living there; they were just getting the money from the people, and
Oh
there was
yeah.
that kind of antagonistic feeling, right?
Oh yeah, there's a long the relationship, the antagonistic relationship between the Asian community and Black community in the U.S. is old. It goes long, it goes way back. But I think that if we actually thought about it, we have more in common than um, than we than we recognize most often. So I think that we need to stop and think about these things. And I think COVID is making it more clear that that's the case,
Right.
because whereas I think that, like I said in the article, um, when acts of police brutality occurred, sometimes I saw that there were some people, Asian people, who say, well, I can understand why the police were, turning on them like that, because black people do have a tendency, so they were siding with the police in cases of police brutality, which doesn't improve relations at all. But then they saw that goes that could be that type of ugliness can be aimed at any group in the U.S., any minority group, including Asians, and they're seeing that now, and they're saying, "Well, shit." Sorry, I cursed. Is it
Okay.
nah? And you know, I think that was an awakening moment. That was a teachable moment for a lot of Asian Americans, and then hopefully it can be a teachable moment for Japanese as well. So that's why I brought it up in that article.
Yeah. I think you had a quote from Martin Luther King: "Injustice against one group is against all groups," and that's a really powerful statement and so true. That what don't you often see this in around the world when you have groups which are disadvantaged, and sometimes within the disadvantaged groups you see more infighting and people kind of turning on each other because kind of like fighting for scraps. I visited the States in the end of 2019, and I was shocked to meet some Black people of color, recent immigrants who were Trump supporters. And I couldn't understand it,
Yeah,
and I was like, why?
yeah.
Why? You know?
Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking.
Now,
Um,
last time we talked, you were actually kind of pro-Trump, and you said if
yeah.
Trump is creating this kind of positive change and empowering people, then you're all for him staying in power longer. Do you still feel like that?
Um, um, I'm getting an echo.
You are? Yeah. Go ahead and take your earphones out. Hopefully, maybe it's better out the speaker. Is there a delay? Speaker. Is there a delay? Speaker. Oh,
Can you hear it too?
now there's a real echo.
Can you hear it too?
Yeah. Can you put earphone back in? Yeah, I don't know what's happening. This is a crazy broadcast so far. Can you hear me now?
Everything you say, I can hear you, but I'm hearing you twice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, crazy. Do you want to you see at the bottom of the screen, you could hit the mic button and on and off, see if that recalibrates it somehow. You see there's a white tab across the bottom. Mic, just turn it off and then back on. Okay, how about I stop the broadcast and we try it again? We'll try a live again. So just stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. Let's try to turn it off and go on again in a sec.